This boy's name is Maehara Maki. Today is the first day of a new school year, and for someone as closed off as him, situations like this are quite uncomfortable. After everyone in the class finished filling in the basic information, the teacher asked each person to introduce themselves. Maki tried to be as brief as possible, but even so he ended up being called. He stood up, quickly said his name, and then the teacher decided to ask if he had any hobbies. Upon hearing that, Maki hesitated for a moment before answering that sometimes, when he has free time, he likes to order pizza, drink soda, and play games. That was when the teacher realized that maybe she had asked the wrong person. But she tried to continue the conversation and asked if he liked anything else. After thinking a bit, Maki said that he also liked to watch movies about sharks or fish. With that, the atmosphere in the classroom became a bit strange, with no one really knowing what to say. To change the mood, another student decided to introduce herself in a more lively way. Her name was Amami, a beautiful and energetic girl. Apparently, if she tried a little more, she could easily be one of the most popular in the class. You came from an all-girls school, but decided to transfer there precisely to have more contact with other types of people. Besides her, there was another transfer student called Asanagi Yumi. You, all excited, pulled her friend forward and introduced her to the class. In just a few moments, the heavy atmosphere in the room completely changed. Maki, sitting in the corner, watched everything in silence. For him, it did not matter who was popular or not. As the days went by, he began to think that maybe it would be better to continue alone. It was not like he did not want to have friends, but his quiet personality made it difficult. Even so, he thought that having a group to laugh and talk with from time to time could be something nice. One day, while he was in the classroom, Maki ended up overhearing by chance a conversation between Yumi and Yu. Yumi commented that she wanted to go to the cinema to watch a movie. Yu became interested, but when she saw what it was about, she was surprised, since she did not expect Yumi to like that kind of film. When the two passed near him, Maki ended up seeing what the movie was and was surprised to realize that they had similar tastes. Later, on the way home, Maki stopped at a rental store to choose a DVD. While he was looking at the options, he ended up bumping into Yumi, who had already been there for a while, although he had not noticed. Without really understanding, Maki saw that she started a conversation with him. A bit awkwardly, he asked if she needed something, and Yumi commented that she noticed he had been listening to the conversation earlier. Maki tried to explain himself, saying that they were talking too loudly to ignore. In truth, Yumi was just teasing, since the real reason she was there was another. She then handed him a sheet with her preferences, something based on what he had said in the classroom. Maki was surprised to realize that her tastes were practically the same as his. It was at that moment that Yumi showed interest in getting closer and suggested that they could be friends. Not long after, she even asked for movie recommendations to watch. Over time, the two gradually became closer. At school, they pretended not to have much intimacy, but outside of it, they already talked a lot. At a certain point, Maki even invited her to go to his house to watch movies. They bought some snacks, played video games, and spent time together until nightfall. When they were saying goodbye, Yumi noticed that he was looking at her a lot and commented on it in a somewhat suspicious way. Before leaving, she invited him to go out again the following week. Maki was surprised and a bit worried about the possibility of someone finding out. Yumi, however, said that there was no problem, and that if someone asked, they could even say that they were dating. That left Maki completely speechless, even though she was just joking. The next day, upon arriving at school, Maki saw Yumi talking normally with Yu, as if nothing had happened. Later, while looking for a place to have lunch, he ended up witnessing someone confessing to Yumi. Before he could leave, Yu pulled him closer, wanting to follow the situation. After hearing the confession, Yumi rejected it, as she had done other times, and left. Later, Maki commented about it with Yumi, even attracting a lot of attention. She seemed to handle the situation well, while Yu still stood out more than her. Maki, on the other hand, thought all of this was a bit tiring. For him, the more attention a person receives, the more complicated things become. Even so, he understood that people like Yumi and Yu lived differently. While he preferred something more peaceful and without pressure, Yumi disagreed a bit, saying that he exaggerated. But deep down, she liked this more reserved side of him. For her, that was something interesting. Maki also began to think in a similar way, even without realizing it. The two were creating a special friendship. In the end, they continued spending time together, playing and talking, enjoying those simple moments, and so, they scheduled another meeting, ready to continue having fun in their own way. At that moment, Yumi was also making up some excuses for her two friends, all to be able to go out alone with him. The two even started to suspect that she was dating, but Yumi denied it immediately. Not long after, Maki arrived home, changed clothes, and went to the train station to meet her. When Yumi appeared, she looked at him for a moment and burst into laughter. Since Maki was dressed in clothes that were too dark, exactly as she had imagined, she commented that, next time, he should wear something with brighter colors. That made Maki think that maybe there would not even be a next time. Soon after, the two passed by a game store. During the way, Yumi asked him to start calling her by her name. Since they were already friends, Maki felt a bit embarrassed, but accepted and also told her to use his name normally. Upon hearing that, Yumi teased, saying that it sounded like something people very close would do. Maki replied in the same tone, going along with the joke. Later, after walking for some time and talking about simple everyday things, they decided to stop at a fast food stand to rest a bit and eat something. While they were waiting for the order and then started eating, Yumi casually commented that she had recently watched a shark movie, and that, surprisingly, she had found the experience interesting and even engaging. Taking advantage of the light mood of the conversation and the topic at hand, she ended up inviting Maki to watch one together the following week, as if it were something natural between the two of them. While they were talking calmly, Maki noticed that some people around were discreetly looking in their direction, clearly attracted by Yumi's presence and the situation. It was then that, without any prior warning or sign that she would do that, Yumi declared out loud that Maki was her boyfriend and, as if she wanted to reinforce the act even more, tried to feed him a French fry. The scene, unexpected and eye-catching, drew even more attention, making several nearby people look directly at them, some even whispering among themselves. Even knowing that all of that was nothing more than an improvised act, Maki ended up going along with it, since he did not have much choice at that moment. Even so, he could not help but imagine that, after that public scene, the two might end up becoming the center of attention at school. Some girls, in particular, were shocked to see someone like Yumi pretending to be in a relationship with a guy as reserved as him. Upon hearing certain comments full of judgment, Yumi showed irritation and even wanted to confront those who were talking, but Maki stopped her, saying that it was not worth getting involved in something like that. After finishing eating and leaving the place, the two continued the outing, walking without a defined direction and enjoying the time together, which ended up being more fun than Maki had initially expected. At a certain moment, while Yumi stepped away to go to the bathroom, Maki ended up running into Yu's group nearby by chance, immediately worried about the possibility of them finding out that he was with Yumi. He tried to call her to warn about the situation, but he could not reach her in time. When he was about to leave to avoid complications, Yu suddenly appeared, told him to talk, and, in a friendly way, invited him to join the group. Maki was surprised by the unexpected invitation, but soon realized that the other people present did not seem very excited about the idea of including him there. Because of that, he decided to politely refuse, believing that his presence could cause some discomfort in the group. Even so, Yu did not show any annoyance with the refusal and continued talking to him normally. During that conversation, Maki commented on a few things spontaneously, without realizing that Yumi, on the other side, ended up hearing everything through the phone. It was at that moment that Yumi revealed a bit more about herself, saying that she had not always been like she is now. In the past, she used to be frequently chosen as a group leader or class representative, and at first everyone seemed to value that a lot. Over time, however, people began to see it as something ordinary, and the way they saw her started to change when they discovered more about her personal tastes and her true personality. Despite that, Yumi commented that now she had at least one friendship in common, referring to Yu, which seemed to have some meaning for her. Shortly after, Yu received a message from Yumi briefly explaining the situation. After all that, Yu ended up becoming worried, thinking that she might have upset Maki without realizing it. The next day, as soon as she arrived in the classroom, she went straight to him and apologized for what had happened. Maki, in turn, calmly explained that there was no problem at all, since he understood that her intention was just to include him and be kind. That ended up making Yu feel more relieved. During the conversation between the two, Yu ended up mentioning without meaning to that they had already exchanged phone numbers before, which immediately caught the attention of the entire class. The revelation generated general surprise, since no one expected that she had gotten so close to someone like Maki. After that, he started receiving several curious looks and discreet comments, which made him a bit uncomfortable. Later, the three decided to go out together again, as a way to spend more time together and strengthen their bond. During the outing, Yu commented that she had always seen Yumi as a more reserved and hard-to-approach person, but had no idea that the two had already become so close to the point of calling each other by name naturally. At a certain moment, they noticed that someone named Nina was following the group from a distance. Upon noticing this, Yumi reacted quickly, grabbing Maki by the hand and running off, trying to shake off whoever was watching them. Since Maki's house was nearby, he suggested that they go there, considering that it would be a safer and quieter place. When they finally managed to meet again, Yumi directly asked why Maki and Yu had exchanged contacts before. With no way to avoid the explanation, he told what had happened at that moment in the past. Yu then commented that it had probably been her own fault, since she always tried to bring him closer to others and include him in social situations. Maki replied by saying what he truly thought about all of that at that moment, being honest about his feelings and his way of seeing the situation. Upon hearing his words, Yu interpreted that he cared a lot about Yumi, which ended up leaving both of them embarrassed for a moment. Even so, the misunderstanding was resolved naturally, and the three managed to understand each other better. In the end, Yu was happy to also have the chance to get closer to Maki and gradually build a genuine friendship among them. On a new school day, Maki arrives in the classroom without drawing attention, as usual. However, Yu quickly notices his presence, approaches him to greet him, and even calls him by his first name. She asks how he is, acting in a very familiar way, which leaves Maki visibly tense, since it ends up attracting the looks of everyone around. Because of that, he responds simply, without much enthusiasm, which makes you ask why he seems so distant. Maki, in turn, does not know what to say. At that moment, Nina approaches, confused by the way Yu is treating Maki, and asks if the two are close. Yu does not understand the reason for the doubt and answers naturally, saying that she is talking to Maehara Maki, as if it were something obvious. This makes Nina think that maybe she forgot something important. Then Yu explains that she recently spent some time with Maki, and that now they are friends, which he confirms. However, by saying that out loud, it ends up drawing even more attention, and soon the other students begin to whisper, some even suggesting absurd things, as if she were forcing something. Maki realizes that the situation is becoming embarrassing, while Nina remains curious and asks what happened after they went out together. Yu simply answers that it is a secret. While they talk, Maki receives a message from Yumi, apologizing for all that unnecessary attention. When the break arrives, the three end up going to a more secluded place inside the school. It is a calm space, well lit and with some benches, perfect for staying without drawing attention. Maki comments that he is glad they liked the place, but while cleaning the table, he thinks that he never imagined that one day he would be having lunch with the two of them. Shortly before that, Yu had directly invited Maki to have lunch with her, which again drew everyone's attention. This time, Yumi quickly approached and whispered that it was not a good idea. Yu, in an innocent way, explained that she remembered Maki saying that he did not like crowded places, so she thought he would feel more comfortable having lunch with few people. While she spoke, Maki felt the looks of the others, especially the boys, which made him even more uncomfortable. Yumi then suggested that she should join them as well, since they had spent time together the day before. The idea came up suddenly, surprising both of them. But when questioned, Maki ended up accepting. With not many options, everyone agreed. Already seated at the place chosen by Maki, he comments that if they were seen together in the cafeteria, they would draw even more attention. so he preferred that more isolated place. When they begin to show their lunches, Yu gets excited upon seeing Maki's omelet and asks if she could trade a little for something of hers. He accepts, although he warns that it might not be to their taste. While eating, Yu asks if he usually prepares his own food, and Maki answers that he sometimes does that, since his mother works a lot. Upon hearing that, Yu comments that he is more responsible than her, but asks not to be compared like that. Soon after, she praises his food, which catches Yumi's attention, who also wants to try it. However, upon tasting it, she makes a somewhat displeased expression, murmuring that it is unfair for it to be that good. After they finish eating, Maki takes out some desserts, which sparks Yu's curiosity. She asks what was the best thing he has ever made, and he answers that it was probably souffle-style pancakes made only with banana and eggs. Upon hearing that, Yu dramatizes the situation, saying that she thought she could compete with him, since she also likes making sweets. But now she realizes that she was aiming too high. Yumi tries to cheer her up, telling her not to give up. Maki comments that it is not that difficult, since it is enough to follow tutorials on the internet. That makes Yu a bit frustrated, saying that it only seems easy when he says it. Even so, she shows a desire to try something like that. Seeing that, Maki offers to prepare it for her someday, which immediately excites her. Suddenly, Yu asks if she can go to his house that very day. Maki is surprised, but seeing her excitement and animated expression, he ends up accepting. Yu thanks him happily and even says that she wants Yumi to go as well. Then, she runs off to buy some things. After she moves away, Yumi comments that Yu really is a very good person. Maki agrees, saying that although he already knew that she was lively, now he sees her differently. He tries to describe it, but ends up comparing her to a little dog, which makes both of them laugh a bit. Soon after, Maki asks if they should not avoid talking about her like that. Yumi understands the point. Since Yu cares a lot about what others think, Maki remembers that he has always been somewhat isolated, so he does not care much about comments. But even so, Yumi asks him to let her know if something happens. After all, Yu is one of the most popular girls in the class. Upon hearing that, Maki tries to pretend that he did not care, but he clearly noticed. Yumi keeps smiling and says that everyone comments on that, and that it would be strange if it were not like that. Maki then reflects and comments that no one knows exactly who started saying that, but it ended up becoming a kind of ranking, where Yu is considered the most beautiful and Yumi the second. Even so, he says that this should not be taken so seriously. Yumi, on the other hand, believes that it makes sense, saying that, from her point of view, Yu really is very beautiful, both in appearance and personality. While Maki tries to respond, she continues, stating that, precisely because of that, he should start to worry a bit more about these things. The words he just said keep echoing in her mind, leaving several doubts circling her thoughts. Did he mean that only as a friend? When night arrives, Yu and Yumi go to Maki's house. As soon as they arrive, he finishes preparing something and gives a special dessert to the two of them. Both Yu and Yumi are impressed at the first bite, liking it so much that they keep eating without stopping. Even so, they comment that, even by following the recipe, they would hardly be able to achieve that result. Maki explains that this happens because many people overlook important details during the preparation. During a relaxed moment playing video games, he is surprised by Yu's unexpected skill, while Yumi watches in silence. Later, Yumi shows interest in bringing Yu closer to Maki, but also acts unexpectedly when she returns to his apartment and takes an intimate action that leaves him confused. Over time, Yumi continues visiting his house, and the two spend calm moments together, such as reading manga, until they end up falling asleep side by side. The situation creates a tense moment when Maki's mother finds them, but everything is resolved in a controlled way, allowing Yumi to spend the night there. After a serious conversation with her son, the mother warns him about responsibility. Later, Maki and Yumi reflect on what happened and admit that they were careless. They also discuss the nature of the relationship between them, recognizing that hiding it is becoming difficult. Even so, Yumi prefers to keep everything as it is for now, and Maki agrees. The moment ends with a shy and awkward goodbye, making it clear that there are unresolved feelings between them. Back in the living room, Maki lies down on the sofa, but his mother appears and asks if he prefers to sleep in the bed with her. He accepts immediately. After all, it is much more comfortable than the sofa. The next day, Yumi takes him to her house. Maki becomes increasingly nervous as they get closer. When the door opens, it is her mother who appears. She greets not only her daughter, but also Maki. Upon hearing his last name, he becomes even more tense and makes a polite bow, formally introducing himself as Maehara Maki. Yumi is surprised to see him like that, while her mother laughs and introduces herself as Sora, commenting lightly that she is the mother of that troublesome daughter. Inside the house, while they have something to drink, Sora says that she does not mind Yumi going out to have fun, but she would like her to inform her beforehand so she does not worry. Yumi agrees and promises to be more careful, and Maki also reinforces that. Sora accepts calmly and changes the subject, suddenly asking how the two became friends. Yumi becomes visibly uncomfortable with the question and asks her mother not to touch on that subject. Sora approaches Maki and asks him to take good care of her daughter, saying that, despite her way, she is a good person. He responds with a calm smile, agreeing. Soon after, Sora enthusiastically suggests that they have sleepovers at the house, saying that this way she can feel at ease seeing them nearby. Without even waiting for an answer, she already treats the idea as something great. Yumi, hearing everything, quickly returns with the peaches and tells Maki, in a somewhat desperate tone, that he has permission to silence her mother. Later, already at school, the teacher announces that the cultural festival will take place in the following month, and that they need to choose people responsible for the organization. As no one volunteers, he decides to choose someone randomly. When picking the slips, he calls Maki, who, without any enthusiasm, realizes that he was chosen. The teacher then declares that he will be responsible for the boys. Immediately, some students begin to mock, saying that the girls will be unlucky to work with him and that whoever wins will have to take care of him as if he were a babysitting job. Maki complains in a low voice, already used to this kind of treatment, while Yu clearly shows irritation with the situation. Although Maki already expected something like this, it is still possible to notice that it affects him. At that moment, Yu stands up, walks to the front of the classroom and, with a serious tone, calls everyone's attention. Then, she directly asks if they really hate Maehara Maki, catching everyone by surprise and completely changing the atmosphere of the room. She clearly shows her irritation and, without making any effort to hide what she is feeling, directly asks the teacher if she can apply for the executive committee. Her objective is quite evident. She wants to participate alongside Maehara and has no intention of letting this opportunity pass. The teacher, on the other hand, prefers to maintain the already established criterion, which is the lottery, avoiding any kind of exception. Even so, she decides to question Maehara, seeking to know whether he agrees with the situation or if he has any objections. He responds in a calm and unconcerned manner, saying that, if that is her wish, he does not see any problem with it. At that moment, Asanagi raises her hand and announces that she was the one selected in the lottery. As soon as she sees the chosen name and understands who her partner will be, she shows a certain sense of relief and accepts to participate without hesitation. At the same time, Yu also shows interest in joining the committee, but Asanagi quickly asks her to calm down. She realizes that Yu reacted emotionally upon seeing Maehara being put under pressure, but believes that her attitude was somewhat exaggerated, which ended up leaving the entire class in an awkward situation. Yumi then decides to intervene, bringing a bit more balance to the situation. She explains that Yu should not apologize only to her, but rather to the entire class, since everyone was affected by the moment. Faced with this, Yu apologizes to all her classmates and also directly to Maehara. He, in turn, responds in a calm manner, stating that he was not bothered by what happened. Soon after, the teacher officially confirms the results. The members of the executive committee will be Yu, Yumi, and Maehara. The scene shifts to another room, where the three of them already begin working together on the planning. Maehara praises Yumi, saying that she was incredible in handling the previous situation, and she, in a somewhat playful tone, asks him to praise her even more. He he realizes that, this time, he truly needs to acknowledge that. But Yumi ends up shifting the focus and says that, in fact, the one who was truly impressive was Yu. She highlights how Yu was direct and did not worry about the atmosphere in the room, acting solely based on the feeling of defending someone important to her. Even Maehara himself felt the impact of her attitude when she faced everyone without hesitation. Shortly after, Seki, the student council president, appears, announcing the beginning of the first official meeting of the cultural festival committee. Maehara notices that Yumi still seems somewhat shaken by everything that happened earlier, even while trying to hide it. Even so, he decides to do his best so that the group works well and manages to fulfill their responsibilities. After classes, Yu looks for Yumi to talk in private. She sincerely thanks her for what Yumi did for her at that moment. But Yumi responds that, in truth, the one who should be thankful is her. Yu acknowledges that, if she had not been interrupted, she would probably have ended up saying even harsher things and causing a bigger problem. Even so, in the end, Yumi expresses her gratitude sincerely for everything Yu did, showing that, despite the confusion, she valued her attitude. Later, while presenting herself in front of the class, Yumi explains that the class will be responsible for organizing an exhibition at the cultural festival. She asks that no one complain about the fact that the idea of a maid cafe was rejected and suggests that, if everyone collaborates well, it might be possible to obtain authorization for the use of cosplay on the day of the event. This possibility excites the classmates quite a lot, who begin to take more interest in the proposal. When Yumi asks if anyone has any ideas, Maehara decides to speak up and presents a project of an artistic mosaic made with cans, something that can be built collectively and draw attention during the festival. After everyone leaves the room, he shows signs of fatigue, but even so thanks Yumi for being his partner. He comments that, if he were working with Yu, he would probably feel nervous all the time because of her intensity. Yumi then responds in a light tone, saying that he should be grateful for the luck he had in the lottery. However, right after that, she reveals that, in truth, she manipulated the result to secure that position beside him. Maehara is visibly surprised upon discovering this, especially considering the tense atmosphere that had been in the room at that moment. Yumi then asks if he was bothered by what she did, perhaps expecting some kind of negative reaction. However, he responds simply that he does not mind it, and, in a symbolic manner, just records her name as the winner of the lottery, accepting the situation without creating conflict. The next day, Yu begins to help by gathering cans, organizing them by colors, separating the red ones on one side and the yellow ones on the other. After analyzing some models and trying to reproduce them, both feel that the result looks too simple. Even so, Maehara believes it is good enough and suggests that they start coloring right away, since they still need to assemble the mosaic, define the colors, punch holes in the cans, and connect them. In the middle of the work, Yu appears complaining that many cans are dirty, some even with cigarette remains inside. Maehara suggests separating the worst ones to wash later. Upon noticing a manga there, Yu asks if she can try drawing the cover. When she finishes, everyone is impressed with her skill. Yumi, upon seeing this, ends up feeling a bit discouraged, thinking that she does not have any special ability. Yu then asks about mixing the colors, and Yumi decides to leave that part under Nina's responsibility, trying to keep the progress of the project going despite her own insecurities. The atmosphere starts off light, with introductions and simple remarks, but soon the attention shifts when they notice Yu's talent. She impresses with ease, although it is clear that studying is not her strong point. At the same time, a certain regret emerges over what they did to Maehara earlier, acknowledging that they went too far, and that someone had to intervene to prevent something worse. With that, the group decides to truly come together to support him from that point onward. Later, the situation shifts into something more intimate. There is a somewhat hesitant invitation to spend time together, with some excuse involving tasks, but the real intention ends up becoming fairly obvious. The conversation turns into a light teasing about loneliness, which is quickly denied, but leaves an awkward atmosphere in the air. Even so, the decision is made. They will meet. When they finally gather, the environment becomes relaxed, The conversation flows, but soon gives space to something more personal. Fatigue sets in, someone asks to rest, and that creates a somewhat ambiguous moment, with jokes about proximity and limits. Despite that, everything continues without major conflicts, until a call interrupts the mood. Amami's arrival changes everything. The tone becomes more serious, and subjects that were hidden begin to come to light. The issue of the secret between Maehara and Asanagi arises, and especially the fact that Kai did not tell anything. The next day, the atmosphere is still strange, but everyone acts as if nothing had happened. The conversations are superficial, trying to maintain normality. Even so, it becomes evident that something has not been resolved. There are doubts about what happened and who knows what, but no one has the courage to dig deeper. While they work together, an attempt at a serious conversation arises. Maehara realizes that he is being avoided and questions it directly. She asks if the two of them can talk in private. After taking him to a more secluded place, she begins to say that the relationship between them should remain a secret. In fact, Maehara had called her there because she had only seen his messages and did not respond. Even so, before getting into that matter, she comments that the most important thing right now is to finish the work they are doing. Yumi then asks if he does not want to know the reason why she has been avoiding contact. Maehara responds calmly, asking if she truly wants to talk about that at that moment. She says no, but acknowledges that, sooner or later, they will have to face that conversation. Even realizing that there is something to be said, he makes it clear that he does not intend to pressure her. When he turns to leave, Yumi hugs him from behind. She comments that his kindness is an admirable quality, but that it can also end up allowing someone to take advantage of it. And she admits that perhaps she herself is acting that way, like someone cowardly. Then, she asks if she decides to tell everything, he would be willing to listen. Maehara replies that yes, so she only asks that he wait until the end of the festival, because she intends to organize her feelings before that. She also mentions that she will talk to Yuyu about everything that has been happening. The scene shifts to the festival, where everyone is having a great time and enjoying the event. After everything goes well, Maehara meets Yumi and holds her hand. At that moment, Yuyu appears accompanied by some girls and decides to introduce them to him. However, Yuyu herself acknowledges that those are not exactly true friends. Even so, she begins to talk a little more about her own feelings, revealing her inferiority complex and making it clear that she is still dealing with it internally. The story goes back to the past, showing Yumi walking to school alongside her friends. During the walk, they ask if Yumi intends to run for class representative, since she has always shown enthusiasm for that kind of responsibility. While they talk, Yumi looks ahead and spots Yuyu. Without thinking much, she tells her friends that she needs to take care of something and asks them to go on without her. As she approaches Yuyu, the two introduce themselves. Yumi sits next to her and asks if she usually goes home alone. A little embarrassed, Yuyu admits that she does not have any friends. Before transferring, people avoided her because of the different color of her hair and eyes, and that made her develop a fear of going through the same situation at the new school. Yumi then extends her hand and suggests that they start going home together every day. That is how their friendship began. When Yumi introduces Yuyu to her friends, they are all impressed by her beauty and welcome her enthusiastically. From that point on, Yuyu, with her naturally charming personality, begins to win over everyone around her. Everything seemed to be going well, or at least that was what Yumi believed at that moment. Over time, already in middle school, Yumi begins to notice changes. The two remain in the same class, but Sani and Manaka end up in different classrooms. Even so, they agree to have lunch together whenever possible. The friends comment that Yuyu is still the same as before, which makes them happy, but they also give a warning. If she continues being so close to Yumi, she might end up becoming the target of comments and teasing from others. Yuyu explains that now she is surrounded by new people, not just old acquaintances. Yumi asks her to continue being who she has always been. When Yuyu introduces herself to the class, she quickly captures everyone's attention. Yumi watches that with admiration. She herself can interact when necessary, but she does not have the same ease in drawing attention. To the other students, Yuyu begins to seem like someone special, almost like a celebrity. Some even boast about being close to her. At that time, Yumi still did not fully understand the weight of that. However, when they reach their 3rd year, everything becomes clearer. People start to question whether Yumi is really Yuu's friend, as if they do not match. In the eyes of others, Yuu becomes a kind of leader, while Yumi is seen as someone ordinary. Even so, many envy her position as Yuu's best friend. At one point, Yumi invites her friends to go to the movies on the weekend. Since she managed to get tickets, she also intends to invite Yuyu. But the others begin to make excuses not to go. Realizing the situation, Yumi understands that if she invites only Yuyu, she will end up going anyway. In the end, she decides to go alone. While walking by herself, Yumi ends up spotting, a little ahead, her 3 friends walking together toward the cinema. The 3 seem excited, talking and laughing as they always did. The scene then shifts to the moment when they are gathered, already immersed in conversation. During that, Yuyu comments that she really wishes Yumi were there with them, sharing that moment. Even so, she believes that Yumi must be busy with other things. The other 2 immediately agree, saying that Yumi has been very focused on her studies lately, and that, because of that, she would hardly have time to go out. They speak naturally, without realizing that, right there nearby, Yumi is listening to every word in silence, unnoticed. Back in the present, Yumi explains that all of that happened even before they entered high school. However, Yuyu does not seem completely convinced by that version. She remembers that, at the time, Yumi had given another justification, saying that she was dealing with problems with tuition fees. Faced with that, Yumi admits that it was nothing more than a lie. Just an excuse she found to avoid the situation and distance herself at that moment. Even so, Yuyu did not give up and ended up going after her. Yuyu states with conviction that she would always do that, regardless of the situation. After all, Yumi is her best friend. She makes it clear that, although Sani and Manaka are also important in her life, Yumi has always occupied a special place that no one else has managed to reach. Hearing that, Yumi acknowledges that those words made her very happy at that moment. But she also admits that, over time, it ended up becoming a problem within her. She then recalls the day of graduation, when she ended up overhearing a conversation between Sani and Manaka. The 2 were saying that they wished they could be closer to Yuu than Yumi was. That statement, even though simple, remained deeply engraved in her mind, planting a feeling that was difficult to ignore. Despite Yuu being extremely popular within the school, outside of that environment the situation was different. Yumi was practically the only close friend she had outside of it. That inevitably sparked envy in other people. Many times, some would approach Yumi at first, but over time they would end up becoming more interested in Yuu and drift away. This pattern repeated itself many times, further reinforcing Yumi's insecurity. When asked about the reason why she never told Yuu about the protagonist, Yumi explains that fear spoke louder. She was afraid of losing the only real bond she had built with so much effort over time. For her, risking that was something far too frightening. In a more direct moment, Yumi decides to ask Yuu if she really likes her. The answer comes without hesitation. Yuu says yes. From the beginning, she has always considered her her best friend and someone irreplaceable. Yumi then admits that she also likes her very much, but reveals that, at the same time, she began to feel something negative growing inside her, a confusing feeling, almost like a kind of hatred that she cannot fully explain. Unable to deal with that at that moment, she simply runs away, trying to cool her head and organize her thoughts. Noticing the situation, Maki decides to go after her, feeling that it cannot be left unresolved. When he finds her, he asks why she looks so thoughtful and shaken. As he gets closer, he says that Yumi is amazing for having endured all of that alone for so long, without showing weakness, continuing to act normally in front of everyone. Yumi, visibly fragile, admits that she really endured more than she should have. In a moment of vulnerability, she asks him to keep saying things like that, as if those words were the only thing capable of supporting her at that moment. Soon after, she begins to reflect on her own actions and realizes something that deeply bothers her. Without noticing, she ended up doing to Yuu exactly what she always hated others doing to her, hiding feelings, lying, and carrying everything alone. That realization leaves her even more confused, not knowing which direction to follow. Yumi asks Maki what would be the best path from there. He calmly suggests that she take some time, both for herself and for her relationship with Yu. He explains that this does not mean breaking ties or distancing completely. The two are still in the same class, will see each other every day, and can still talk, but in a more relaxed way, without pressure. However, Yumi asks him to stop talking for a moment and listen to what she also has to say. That makes it clear that there are still many feelings kept inside her, things she needs to let out before being able to move forward. The conversation begins directly, without hesitation. Maehara admits that she would feel lonely if she lost what she has with him. Even so, she makes it clear that she wants to continue, but also wants to see Asanagi and Amami resolving their issues, something everyone knows will not be easy. She understands what she is feeling, thanks him for being honest, but still does not have a firm decision. At the same time, it becomes evident that the relationship between her and Maki has changed. She does not hide it. He is important, very, but not more than the others. Everyone carries the same weight. Then the mood breaks. Yu explodes all at once, letting everything out. Fear of being left aside, insecurity, comparison with Maki. Kai realizes the damage and blames himself for having made his best friend feel that way. Yu also admits her mistake. Both acknowledge that they failed. The festival continues with that messy atmosphere until the end. Between scares in the haunted house, teasing, and random moments, everything slowly starts to fall into place. In the end, the event finishes without major conclusions, but with small changes. After that, the group continues to meet. Calmer conversations, simple moments. There is still tension, but there is also closeness. Maki tries to distance herself, but cannot maintain it. She admits that she likes spending time with Maehara, and that staying away now is impossible. Yu accepts, but makes it clear that she will demand more attention later. The mood returns to normal, or at least something close to it. Later, Maehara does not seem well. Kai notices and pulls her closer, sharing his jacket. The moment becomes more intimate, quieter. It is there that the relationship between the two shifts in tone. He starts calling her by her first name. She finds it strange, reacts, but accepts it. The exchange becomes more personal, and then comes the main point. Maki, a bit awkward, admits that she is not used to saying this kind of thing, but says that he looks cuter when he smiles like that. He does not let it pass and responds with a direct question. She likes him. Does she not? She does not truly answer. She avoids it, but she does not run away either. Then, she gives the boy a kiss on the cheek. She says she will only give a kiss on the lips when he admits that he likes her. When he asks again, the answer comes in the form of another question, turning everything around. In the end, she wants to know if the feeling is only hers or if he feels the same. Soon after, she runs off, and Maki says that she is very unfair. The scene shifts to Maki listening to the muffled sound of his mother crying during the middle of the night. Even while still half asleep, he could clearly hear the sadness in her voice as she asked, almost begging, why he never said anything to her. Ever since he was little, Maki had always wondered what the real reason behind that suffering was. Yet he never found the courage to ask directly. That question remained trapped inside his chest for a very long time, silently growing within him without ever receiving a real answer. When he tried speaking with his father to understand what was happening, Maki noticed something strange. Before he could even say a single word, the man simply disappeared right in front of his eyes without giving any explanation at all. The feeling was so absurd and confusing that he remained frozen in place, unable to react. Soon afterward, he woke up in shock from that strange and disturbing dream. Still lying in bed, he grabbed the phone beside him and stared at the screen while trying to understand why he had dreamed about exactly that on that particular day. As he remembered Yumi, Maki admitted to himself that he truly liked her as well. However, even when two people have feelings for one another, that does not necessarily mean they will stay together forever. He understood that reality very well because he had witnessed something similar up close within his own family. Although he had felt incredibly happy after hearing Yumi say that she loved him, he believed that, the way he currently was, he still was not someone worthy of standing beside her. Not long afterward, his phone vibrated with a message from Yumi asking him to walk to school together, just like they always did. While walking to meet her, Maki made an important decision deep inside himself. He wanted to become someone capable of proudly saying that Yumi was his girlfriend without feeling insecurity or inferiority. During their conversation, Maki explained that he wanted to leave her confession on hold for a little while longer. Yumi, however, asked why he still wanted to continue walking beside her even after saying that. Maki immediately apologized and admitted that he understood why she would think that way. After all, anyone would probably interpret the situation in the exact same manner, so he could not blame her for feeling confused. Yumi then admitted that it was impossible to deny just how special he was to her and how he still remained her favorite person when it came to love. Even so, she decided to temporarily put the entire situation on pause. Joking lightly, she commented that he was lucky she was such a kind and understanding girl. Even while smiling, she asked Maki to do his best as quickly as possible to become a man worthy of her. Before they continued walking to school, Yumi noticed that his lips were quite dry because of the cold weather. Without thinking too much about it, she took out a lip balm and carefully applied it to his lips to help him. Maki became surprised and asked if that was not the exact same lip balm she always used. Yumi answered yes, but then immediately asked if he was thinking of it as an indirect kiss. Even while saying that in embarrassment, she stated that she did not really mind, especially because the lip balm was still new. Afterward, she handed the product to Maki and told him to continue using it whenever he needed to. As they kept walking side by side, Yumi shyly commented that she wished that, once they became even closer, the two of them would use the same lip balms. Right after saying that, she became extremely embarrassed and ran ahead of him to hide her flushed red face. When they arrived at school, Nina called Maki director. Confused, he immediately asked the reason behind such an unexpected nickname. Nina explained that thanks to all of his efforts, everything had managed to work so well during the cultural festival, so it was only natural for him to be called the great director of the performance. Maki became completely embarrassed after hearing that and insisted that she was exaggerating since everyone had helped a lot. Even so, he could not deny that they were happy about winning the grand prize. While they were talking, Nina approached curiously and directly asked whether he and Yumi were dating. However, before Maki could even answer, Yumi suddenly appeared behind him looking irritated by the question. Without hesitating, she placed Nina in an arm lock before finally sitting down beside them. Shortly afterward, Yu quietly asked why Yumi seemed to be distancing herself slightly from Maki over the past few days. She commented that something had probably happened between the two of them. Hearing that, Yumi immediately turned red from embarrassment and hurriedly replied that absolutely nothing had happened. Meanwhile, a boy constantly watched Yumi from a distance. From the way he stared at her, it was obvious that he felt jealous seeing her so close to Maki. The scene changes to that boy speaking with Yu about the Christmas party. He asked whether she planned to participate in the event, but Yu replied that she already had other plans and even admitted that she liked someone else. After hearing that, Maki remembered what Yumi had mentioned earlier. On Christmas Eve, the students would rent a room at the community center to hold a joint event with students from other schools. The registrations to participate had already closed since the beginning of the second semester. Back then, however, he still was not close to Yumi or the other girls, so he ended up not paying much attention to it. Now, looking back on it, Maki realized just how stupid he had been for ignoring that opportunity. Thinking that he would only get in the group's way, Maki decided to let the three girls enjoy Christmas by themselves. However, Nina asked him to wait a little before jumping to conclusions. She explained that she also already had another commitment scheduled for the same day, since she would be going out with her boyfriend. During the cultural festival, an upperclassman had confessed his feelings to her, and since then the two of them had gradually started becoming closer. While everyone talked normally together, that same boy watched everything through the classroom window. Not long afterward, he called Maki over to speak privately and finally introduced himself as Seki. Without wasting time, Seki asked for advice regarding Yu. He explained that throughout his entire school life, he had never shown any interest in romance, but everything completely changed after meeting Yu in high school. At first, simply watching her from a distance already seemed enough to make him happy. However, as time passed, his feelings began growing in a way that became impossible to ignore. Seki commented that, in only 4 months, everyone would move on to the second year of high school. There was a possibility that he might not even remain in the same class as Yu, and just thinking about that made him extremely anxious. Since he disliked beating around the bush, he decided to be completely straightforward. He wanted Maki to become his friend and also ask Yumi for help, allowing him to have more opportunities to get closer to Yu and perhaps even invite her to the Christmas party. After listening carefully to everything, Maki replied that he would need to refuse that request. Seki apologized immediately afterward and admitted that he completely understood the answer since the two of them had practically never spoken before that moment. Even so, Seki commented that he considered Maki to be a very strong person. However, Maki immediately realized that was not true. Compared to Yumi, he believed he was absolutely nothing. Later, after returning to Yumi's house, she explained that the situation involving the Christmas party had become more complicated than she originally imagined. One of the schools participating in the event would be the Takabana Girls' School itself. When she registered months earlier, Yumi had never imagined that the circumstances would change so much. Since she had already paid the participation fee, she decided that she would simply eat a lot at the event and return home early. She also commented that the party would end around 8 at night. Upon hearing that, Maki immediately understood what she meant and decided that he would prepare something for her at home. When he arrived home, he found his mother smoking alone. As soon as she noticed his presence, she apologized, saying she had not even realized he had arrived. Maki remembered that the last time he had seen her like that was around a year earlier, during the complicated divorce process with his father. Worried, he asked if something had happened. However, his mother merely responded that it was just something that comes with age, avoiding going deeper into the subject. Later, after gathering with everyone once again, Yu commented that Yumi had called her to cancel the plans they had previously arranged. She joked that the two of them seemed completely in love with each other. Upon hearing that, Yumi became extremely nervous and, unable to hide her embarrassment, ended up inviting Yu to go out together with her anyway. The following day, when they arrived in the classroom, Seki called Yu aside to talk privately. Watching the situation, Yumi asked Nani whether she truly did not intend to do anything. Nani calmly replied that there was no reason to interfere since everyone already knew that Seki liked Yu. Shortly afterward, Nani commented that if it had been Maki in Seki's position, the situation would have been completely different. Just hearing that alone was enough to make Yumi even more nervous. Unable to remain still, Yumi ran off to speak with Yu while Maki went after Seki to talk with him. After finding him, Maki explained that Seki had acted a little too hastily in the way he handled things. Then he reminded him that Yu had ended up rejecting his attempt to get closer to her and asked what he intended to do now. Thinking rationally, Seki admitted that he should probably forget about all of it and search for a new love. Even while saying that, however, his expression made it obvious that he still had not completely given up. During the conversation, Seki asked whether Maki was already dating Yumi. He replied that he was not yet. After sitting down to continue talking, Maki explained that he practically had no romantic experience at all, so he felt incapable of advising him properly. Even so, he believed that he needed to respond to Yumi's feelings as quickly as possible. Lately, she had become extremely popular once again. After the festival, many people started commenting that she seemed gentler, and also even prettier and more adorable than before. Seki simply asked Maki not to let her slip away, no matter what, since there were other people interested in her. When he arrived home beside Yumi, Maki explained that he had ended up becoming friends with Seki. Yumi found that friendship very strange, finding it difficult to imagine the two of them getting along so well. Not even Maki himself fully understood how that had happened, but he believed that certain things could only be understood after having a proper conversation. Despite her surprise, Yumi decided to support the situation and felt happy for him. Then Maki remembered the advice he had received from Seki and gathered the courage to invite Yumi to the movies. She accepted the invitation, though she imposed one condition. Before Friday's classes, she wanted him to accompany her somewhere. Soon afterward, she explained that if the two of them were truly going out together, he needed to buy better clothes for the occasion. After several days passed, the long-awaited Friday finally arrived. While walking through the shopping mall, Yu accidentally bumped into someone, but Maki managed to catch her in time to prevent her from falling. At that moment, she noticed that his hands were very rough. Seeing the two of them so close together, Yumi immediately became jealous and asked them to step away from each other. Maki then decided that he did not want to risk losing her in the middle of the crowd. Because of that, he held Yumi's hand, and the two of them began walking side by side while holding hands. After spending some time walking through the stores, they managed to buy several new clothes. Later on, when leaving the restroom, Maki unexpectedly ran into his father by pure chance. The instant he saw him, he became completely frozen in place. And that is how another episode comes to an end. So I know you stayed until the very end. Comment Seki. Do not forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to follow more content like this. See you all in the next video. Goodbye. He asks if the boy had come to that area just to have fun. Even while trying to maintain his usual serious attitude, he feels happy when he realizes that his son is already in high school. Maki then explains that he had only gone out to buy a few things before returning to meet his friends. The boy's father comments that it had been quite a long time since the last time the two had seen each other, practically since before summer vacation. He admits that he knows very well that he should have set aside more time to spend with his son, but after that period, work became busy again. By coincidence, his next job was actually near that area, so he was heading back there right now. Maki thinks that sounded extremely exhausting and asks if his father was really okay. The man calmly replies that there was no problem at all, saying that he had complete confidence in his own body and could still handle that heavy routine without difficulty. Suddenly, one of his employees appears at the location and comments that he was taking quite a while also reminding him that they still needed to return to work. Maki's father replies that he was already coming and takes the opportunity to introduce his son to her. The woman shows surprise upon discovering that and quickly introduces herself politely as Minato Kyoka. Right after that small conversation, Maki decides to leave and return to his friends. While walking, he quickly remembers what had happened on the day of the fight, but tries to push those thoughts away and soon returns to normal. As soon as he comes back, Yu comments that Yumi had been restless the entire time because the boy took longer than expected to return. Yumi then asks them to leave that place already so they can continue their outing. The scene changes to Maki and Yumi at a cafe. Yumi shows a certain irritation because the boy was answering only with yes or no, without really developing the answers to what she was asking. To her, getting lost in his own thoughts like that while another person was trying to talk was a bit rude. At that moment, Yu appears at the location. Maki explains that he was just a little tired and apologizes to the two girls. After that, they choose what they are going to eat so they can continue enjoying the day together. While watching the girls, Maki thought that he would really like both of them to start eating at least a few vegetables, since they practically lived on junk food alone. Even so, he ends up thinking that, by their side, that year would probably be very fun. The next day, Maki gets ready very carefully before leaving. A short time later, Yumi also arrives very well dressed, leaving the boy completely enchanted when he sees her like that. She explains that it was very cold outside, and that she would really appreciate it if he let her enter the house quickly. Maki then decides to prepare some hot tea for her. However, after noticing the girl's legs because of the outfit she was wearing, he ends up becoming extremely embarrassed. Yumi immediately notices that he was looking. Maki's excuse is that she seemed to be very cold. Yumi replies that she really was freezing and, to tell the truth, she had already started regretting her choice of clothes before even arriving there. Even so, she explains that it was a special day, so she wanted him to see her looking beautiful, especially because Maki was the boy she felt closest to. Maki finds it strange that she came all the way to his house dressed like that just for that reason. Yumi replies that maybe it really was a little inconvenient, but she wanted him to see her as soon as possible. Then she directly asks what he thought about her appearance that day. Maki, extremely embarrassed, admits that she looked very beautiful, and that he was completely captivated when he saw her. Yumi happily thanks him for the words and comments that all the effort she put into getting ready was worth it then. A little later, the two leave together while holding hands. Maki thinks that a high school boy and girl trying to look a little more adult like that ended up being kind of funny. The clothes he was wearing had been chosen by Yumi herself, who had clearly put a lot of effort into helping him. He knows that he cannot change his appearance now and does not even care if people make fun of him because of it. However, he does not want them to laugh at Yumi as well, especially the girl who had the courage to say that she liked him. Maki then comments that he would be very happy if she continued teaching him more things from then on. Yumi becomes extremely happy when she realizes that, on that day, he seemed cuter than ever. When they arrive at the movie theater, the two enter and notice that the chosen seats were for couples. Yumi explains that, since it was a real date, she thought it would be nice to enjoy that kind of place. After sitting down, Maki asks why she was clinging to his arm like that. Yumi replies that she wanted to create the proper mood for the date. Then she asks if he did not like staying that close to her. Maki immediately answers that he liked it very much. Yumi then asks what he thinks their classmates would say if they saw the two of them together in that place. However, at that moment, Maki realizes that he no longer cared about that kind of thing. After the movie, Yumi stretches a lot because she ended up sleeping during practically the entire session. She complains, saying that the movie was extremely boring and that she did not enjoy the experience at all. In her opinion, the two of them should have gone to watch Mutant Giant Human Eating Shark vs. Supreme Gustav instead. Later, while leaving the cafe, she asks if Maki had liked the place. He replies that he liked everything, even the desserts, but comments that there was one thing that bothered him. Yumi suggests that the two of them say it together, and both end up saying at the same time that the portion was way too small. Even after they had just finished eating, Yumi asks if they could still stop somewhere to eat hamburgers, and Maki agrees without complaining. After that, she invites him to go to karaoke. Maki admits that he had never gone to a place like that before. Yumi jokingly replies that, if necessary, she would carry the boy on her back all the way there. After singing for quite a long time, she asks what he thought about the experience. Maki honestly replies that it was a lot of fun. Yumi becomes extremely happy, saying that it had been a very long time since the last time she had sung like that. She then invites Maki to sing alone, but the boy gets embarrassed and admits that he still had not even managed to choose a song. Yumi completely understands and asks if he would rather sing together with her first, since that might make everything easier. After spending a long time singing together, Yumi comments very excitedly that she had more fun than she imagined. She says that she became so tired that both her throat and her body felt completely destroyed. Maki replies that he was feeling the same way as well. Yumi then comments on how much she liked the song he chose to sing, saying that it was really good. Maki explains that all of that happened thanks to her. After all, that had been the first time he had ever sung in front of someone. However, thanks to her support, it did not end up turning into a bad memory. When the two sit down to rest, Yumi suddenly hugs Maki and asks what he truly thinks about her. Maki realizes that perhaps that was the right moment to finally say it. Yumi then explains that she does not want to force him to say anything, but she would really like to hear those words coming directly from his mouth. After that, she asks him to come a little closer so he can whisper it into her ear. However, to Maki, he still was not the ideal person for Yumi. At that moment, when he looks ahead, he ends up spotting his own father together with Minato. Yumi immediately notices that the two seemed far too close. Maki then asks her to leave that place as quickly as possible. Even so, Maki knows that if they left at that moment, they would probably only end up disturbing the two of them. Besides that, the time he and Yumi had together still was not over yet. Before he could do anything, Yumi suddenly hugs him and asks him to stay quiet, since the two of them were coming in their direction. After Maki's father and Minato pass by them without noticing anything, Maki apologizes to Yumi. She becomes confused and asks why he was suddenly apologizing, since he had not done anything wrong. Maki then explains that neither his father nor Minato had done anything wrong either. To him, that had simply been bad timing. Soon after, Maki suggests that the two of them head back home, since it was getting very late and Sora would probably start worrying. When he arrives home, he finds his mother smoking. As soon as she notices her son's presence, she apologizes for doing that. Maki simply replies that he did not mind. Then he asks if she was very tired. The woman admits that it had been quite a long time since the last time she faced such an exhausting end of the year, so it really was difficult to endure all of that. Soon after, she asks how the date with Yumi went and whether everything turned out well. Maki replies that it did, but he ends up mentioning that he saw his father together with Minato that day. His mother then asks whether he would be free next Friday night. Maki replies that it would actually be the first day of exams, but that he did not have any important plans besides studying. She then explains that his father wanted to arrange a visit for the following Friday. Maki remembers that, ever since his parents' divorce, meetings with his father had been decided like that. Until he finished high school, the two of them would continue meeting around once a month. Usually, they would go out to eat together while talking about how things were going. Just because his parents had divorced did not mean that he hated his father. Besides that, the man usually took him to expensive restaurants, so Maki always ended up looking forward to those meetings. His mother comments that, in the past, his father used to organize his entire schedule around their availability. Maki replies that everything is fine, especially because he always paid child support properly, and thanks to that, the two of them were able to live peacefully. Even so, Maki cannot stop thinking about Minato. He begins wondering whether his father already knew her before, or if their relationship only started after the divorce. Maybe everything had begun much earlier. While he remains lost in those thoughts, his mother calls out to him and asks if he became tired after spending the whole day outside. Then she decides to go prepare the food as quickly as possible so that the two of them can have dinner together. Before leaving, she simply asks him to send a message to Yumi thanking her for the date. Maki knows that he should do that, but there is another question occupying his mind at that moment. Did his mother still love his father? Upon hearing that, she calmly asks what made him ask such a sudden question. She replies that many things happened over the years and, in the end, the two of them ended up divorcing. Even so, she admits that perhaps there is still a small remnant of those feelings stored somewhere in her heart. There was a time when she did not even want to look at his face because of all the resentment she carried during that period. However, despite everything, she was never able to throw away the albums filled with old photographs of him together with Maki. His mother then asks whether the boy would like to see those old photographs. Maki agrees, and soon she begins showing him the albums that had been carefully stored away. As soon as he looks at the pictures, he ends up feeling genuinely happy. In many of them, he appeared still very young beside his parents. His mother even starts laughing while remembering that, back then, Maki would immediately start screaming whenever someone outside the family tried to carry him. According to her, it was practically impossible to make him stop crying afterward. While continuing to look through the photos, Maki realizes that those moments truly seemed happy. Even after everything that happened between his parents, important memories still remained preserved there. Because of that, he decides that he will not place that burden on his mother at that moment. The two of them were finally managing to live a peaceful life now, so he did not want to destroy that peace because of doubts about the past. In the end, Maki decides to simply swallow everything that happened before and keep those thoughts only to himself. Yumi visits Maki early in the morning because she no longer wants to be just a background character in his life. During her visit, Maki's mother shows her several childhood photo albums, leaving him completely embarrassed while Yumi finds everything adorable. Despite the teasing, Maki is happy to see how well the two get along. Later, he brings his mother the cigarettes she forgot and notices how exhausted and overwhelmed she is by the family's problems. She asks him not to tell Yumi about the situation, but Yumi already knows part of what happened involving his father. Back at the apartment, Maki and Yumi have breakfast together and talk about the exams starting on Friday. Since they need to study, Yumi suggests reviewing the material that afternoon. Maki invites Seki to join them, claiming it would be awkward to study alone with the girl he confessed to. After school, Yumi, Yu, and Seki head to his place for a study session. During the gathering, they talk about their grades and the Japanese school system. which separates students based on academic performance. While studying, Yumi quietly teases Maki, leaving him completely flustered. Later, while eating pancakes he made, Yumi wipes some ice cream off his face with her finger and licks it, prompting Yu and Seki to complain that the two are acting like a couple in front of everyone. When the study session ends, Yu and Seki leave first. Alone with Maki, Yumi hugs him and admits she felt insecure at the thought that he might find someone better than her because of past experiences. Maki reassures her, saying he only has eyes for her. Comforted, Yumi stays in his arms for a few more minutes before leaving. The next day, Friday, Maki waits for his father outside a restaurant for their planned dinner, realizing the man did not even bother to pick him up. While waiting, Maki receives a message from Yumi offering to keep him company. He reassures her and says everything is fine. When his father arrives, they enter the restaurant, and Maki takes the opportunity to order the most expensive item on the menu. During dinner, he asks his father about his feelings for his mother and whether there is still any chance of reconciliation. The man replies that he respects and admires her, but the relationship could not be repaired. When questioned about Minato, he insists there was no cheating and admits he fell in love with her after the marriage had already ended. Their conversation is interrupted when Nina shows up in distress. Her date abandoned her with a large bill after saying he had found someone better. Maki's father offers to cover the difference, but Maki insists on paying for it himself. Before letting the matter go, he once again presses his father on whether he truly loves Minato. Annoyed by the repeated questioning, the man avoids giving a direct answer and leaves. Afterward, Maki accompanies Nina to a cafe. During their conversation, she talks about friendship, relationships, and family. She explains that family problems are unavoidable, but keeping everything bottled up only makes things worse. According to her, Maki's father let his problems pile up for too long and eventually lost the chance to fix them. Nina also warns that Maki risks repeating the same mistakes if he keeps pretending nothing affects him. She advises him to trust the people who care about him more, especially Yumi. Nina's words make Maki reflect. He promises to take better care of himself and the people he loves, starting by calling Yumi and telling her how the meeting with his father went. The following morning, Maki's mother announces that she quit her job. Tired of the exhausting routine and all the accumulated problems, she decided to take 2 months off before thinking about her future. Maki is very happy with her decision and only asks her to try quitting smoking. However, the new situation creates a problem for him and Yumi. With his mother spending more time at home, the apartment will no longer be the place where they usually have time alone together. Realizing this, Yumi invites Maki to have dinner with her and her parents on Friday. He immediately rejects the idea, but it seems he will not be able to escape his next challenge, officially meeting his girlfriend's parents, especially his intimidating future father-in-law. The story then shifts to Yu. She comments that the day everyone had been waiting for had finally arrived, the moment when Maki would have to attend a family gathering at Yumi's house. Despite her casual tone, she makes one request, telling him to be careful. Hearing that, Maki immediately becomes uneasy. In his mind, the warning could only mean one thing: Yumi's father must be an extremely intimidating person. However, Yumi quickly corrects that assumption. According to her, her father wasn't the problem. The person he really needed to watch out for was her brother. That answer does nothing to reassure Maki. In fact, it only makes him more worried. If even Yu seemed to be taking the situation seriously, then Yumi's brother had to be someone difficult to deal with. While he continues imagining various troubling scenarios, one of his friends chooses to look at things more positively. He points out that Maki should consider himself lucky. After all, not only would he be visiting Yumi's house that week, but he would also have the Christmas party the following week. Maki, however, immediately remembers that he still hadn't confirmed whether he would attend. Unsure of what to do, he decides to ask his sister for help. Shortly afterward, he finds her and is impressed when he sees her. He then remembers that she serves as the student council president. Taking the opportunity, Maki asks if there is any way to add his name to the participant list. She asks him to wait a moment while she checks, before doing anything else. However, she thanks Maki for being a good friend to her brother. After a long wait, Yumi finally receives special permission to participate in the school event. She is still not allowed to compete in the activities, but she can now spend time with the other students during breaks and enjoy everything that has been planned. The news excites everyone, especially her, since she had wanted to experience it for a long time. Later, Maki has a conversation with his mother. She tells him that she recently spoke with his father and that he already knows about the job Maki has been working. The news does not please him at all. According to her, his father doesn't understand why Maki feels the need to work, considering that he regularly sends money to help with expenses. However, the reality is more complicated than it seems. The financial support is important, but it isn't enough to support both of them without his mother's constant efforts. She explains that her ex-husband doesn't fully understand the situation they face every day. She then admits that she feels somewhat guilty seeing her son involved in so many difficulties. Even so, she tries to reassure him, saying that things won't stay this way forever, and that the three of them will likely never have to face such difficult circumstances together again. Sometime later, Maki visits Yumi's house. He brings a gift sent by his mother as a way of thanking them for the help they had received. As soon as he arrives, he is warmly welcomed. Although his nervousness is impossible to hide, shortly after entering, he meets Daichai, Yumi's father. The man thanks him for being a good friend to his daughter and for always being there for her when she needs him. Maki tries to respond politely, but his nervousness makes the conversation a little awkward. Noticing the uncomfortable atmosphere, Yumi's mother decides to have some fun with the situation. She starts making teasing comments, leaving Maki even more speechless. Even Daichai doesn't seem to know how to handle his wife's jokes. After several awkward yet funny moments, Yumi decides to put a stop to it before things become even more embarrassing. Without giving anyone a chance to continue teasing, she insists that everyone get ready for dinner. While waiting for the meal, Maki takes the opportunity to get to know her father better. The family explains that Daichai tends to be reserved and difficult to read at times, but that he always puts his family first. Even during that conversation, the teasing continues, mainly from Yumi's mother, who seems amused by the reactions of the two teenagers. A drop falls onto the table in front of Maki. Only then does it become clear that he has been crying without even realizing it. The scene shifts, taking us back to the time when he was still a child. Back then, everything seemed much simpler. Maki watches his mother prepare dinner while asking curious questions about what they would be eating that night. With a playful smile, she suggests a game and asks him to guess the menu. After thinking for a few seconds, Maki excitedly answers that they will be having hamburgers. Masaki celebrates his correct guess and hands him a freshly prepared glazed carrot as a prize. The reward, however, doesn't please the boy at all. Shortly afterward, Itsuki's voice echoes through the house, announcing his arrival. Maki immediately runs to the entrance and greets him with a tight hug. His father asks whether he behaved well during the day, but Masaki quickly gives him away, reminding him that he had just complained about the carrots. Afraid of disappointing his father, Maki quickly changes his attitude and agrees to eat the vegetable. That earns him praise and affection from Itsuki, creating a warm moment among the three of them. At the time, Maki believed those happy days would last forever. However, everything began to change when he entered high school. Family meals gradually became less frequent. One day, Maker was taking a very long time to come home. Maki kept waiting because he had promised he would be there that night. As time passed and hunger grew, his mother suggested that they eat dinner without waiting any longer. After all, it was already getting late. There was an empty seat at the Maehara family's table, and the two of them ended up eating alone. His mother was clearly worried, though she tried to hide it. There were two people sitting at the table, but to Maki it felt as though an invisible barrier separated them. After the divorce, even that companionship disappeared, and he was left sitting in that place alone. Back in the present, Maki covers his face with his hands. With a trembling voice, he apologizes to everyone because he doesn't even understand what happened. Daichai and Riku exchange concerned looks when they see him in that state. Before Yumi can say anything, he apologizes again and says he needs to step outside for some air and to clear his thoughts. He then gets up and quickly leaves. Yumi tries to call after him, but he doesn't stop. The sudden change leaves her completely surprised. Meanwhile, Maki runs through the streets with no destination in mind. His breathing becomes heavy until he finally slows down and stops. Feeling awful, he begins criticizing himself for what happened in front of Yumi's family. To him, it was embarrassing. He thinks it's pathetic that he still acts that way even though he's already in high school. It doesn't take long for Yumi to catch up to him. As soon as she arrives, Maki says he's fine and that she should go back to her family. However, she calls him an idiot and makes it clear that she has no intention of leaving him alone at that moment. Maki avoids looking at her and insists that he needs to be by himself. Even so, he keeps walking, trying to get away. Yumi refuses to accept that and follows right behind him. She says she doesn't care and asks him to stop running away so she can catch up. With some effort, she finally grabs his hand and prevents him from running any farther. Right afterward, she hugs him tightly from behind. Faced with that, Maki finally gives up resisting and apologizes once again. Yumi completely ignores the apology and opens her arms, inviting him closer. When he takes a step toward her, she gently strokes his head and lets him rest against her chest. Little by little, Maki closes his eyes. The warmth and comfort of that embrace make all of his tension disappear. Yumi comments, somewhat embarrassed, that he really did act like a child. However, she also reminds him that being in high school doesn't magically turn someone into an adult overnight. According to her, feeling vulnerable from time to time is completely normal. She then explains that there's nobody around to judge him or laugh at him. Because of that, he doesn't need to pretend he's okay. He can stay like that for as long as he needs. Hearing those words, Maki apologizes again. Later, Yumi takes him to her room. There, she asks if it's true that he's been thinking about his parents for a long time. Maki confirms it. He says he thought he had gotten over everything, but now he realizes he was wrong. Yumi replies that it's understandable and reminds him of how hard he's worked all this time. She then pats her lap a few times, silently suggesting that he come closer. Without waiting for an answer, she settles his head there and helps him relax. When she notices that he has finally fallen asleep, she tells him to set all those worries aside for a while. She says he should simply rest, eat well, and regain his strength before thinking about his problems again. She also adds that he can stay like that until the next day if he wants. In response, Maki simply wishes her good night and thanks her once more. A little later, when she believes he is sleeping soundly, Yumi closes her eyes, exhausted, and quietly confesses that she loves him very much. When he wakes up, the first person he sees is Yumi lying beside him. She greets him with a huge smile. Maki greets her back and asks what time it is. Yumi replies that it's already past 8 in the morning and reminds him that, fortunately, it's a holiday. Hearing that, Maki gets ready to stand up, but she explains that she's only been awake for about an hour and that the time passed quickly while she was watching him sleep. The two nearly kiss, but they are interrupted by Sora. Later, Sora and Daichai tell them that they support their relationship, only asking them to be a little more discreet. In a private conversation, Daichai advises Maki not to keep all of his feelings about his parents' divorce bottled up. He explains that expressing sadness and pain is healthy and that Maki shouldn't ignore his own emotions. After returning home, Maki finds an old family photo album and becomes emotional as he remembers the days when his parents were still together. After reflecting on Daichai's advice, he decides to accept his feelings and works up the courage to send an important message, determined to take action before Christmas and the first anniversary of his parents' divorce. On the day of the party organized by the student council, the members make their final preparations. Maki asks for permission to be absent for about 15 minutes during the event and receives approval, while Siki is assigned to help throughout the entire celebration. Later, some girls discuss their plans for the party, but a comment from Yu sparks an argument that is quickly resolved. Meanwhile, Maki remains concerned about a personal matter he has decided to confront. He meets Minato at a park for an important conversation. During the meeting, it is revealed that he personally contacted both her and his father to discuss his future. Minato recalls how she met his father, Itsuki, and admits that she has always loved and deeply admired him. Minato then makes an unexpected request. she wants Maki to move back in with his father. She claims that Itsuki needs her just as much as he needs his own son. To convince him, she even says she would accept any punishment and quit her job and disappear from their lives if necessary. Although he recognizes her sincerity, Maki rejects the proposal, making it clear that he has no intention of making a decision based on emotional pressure. After their conversation, the party finally begins. Maki takes charge of welcoming the guests and performs his role efficiently. Tomo thanks him for his help and mentions that he will soon step down as student council president. In response, Maki decides to call him by his first name, showing how much closer they have become. Realizing his reaction, Maki quickly understands the reason for the hesitation. Since Sumo is not exactly his friend, it would be strange to address her by her last name. Tomo completely understands and accepts the situation. In return, he says that he will start calling her by her first name as well before returning to his duties. At that moment, Yu arrives full of energy to greet them. She proudly shows off her beautiful dress and points out how pretty she looks. Her appearance draws the attention of nearly everyone present, especially since she is quite popular even among students from other schools. Maki, however, remains calm. He simply returns the greeting and asks where Yumi is. Yu explains that they arrived together, but Yumi got distracted admiring her own reflection in the bathroom mirror. A little later, Yumi finally appears. Yu approaches Maki and asks if she has been talking too much with Meiji again. He says no, convinced that she will get his support. Yu snaps him out of his thoughts, since he had been so distracted watching Yumi that he failed to comment on how beautiful she looked. Not knowing what else to say, he ends up directly telling her that the dress suits her perfectly. Upon hearing the compliment, Yumi replies that, as always, she will have to deduct a few points for his lack of creativity, but she will accept it as a sincere compliment. Maki repeats that she really does look beautiful. Embarrassed, Yumi asks him to stop repeating it and tells him not to continue because she already understands perfectly well. A few seconds later, Nina approaches to greet him. As soon as he sees her, he asks what happened, since she was supposed to arrive with her boyfriend. Nina replies that that was indeed the plan. However, something came up at the last minute. The expression on her face makes it obvious that she is unhappy with the outcome. Because of that, she asks to help organize the event, believing it will be more enjoyable to spend time with them. Yo thinks it is an excellent idea and says that everyone will probably have more fun with her around. While the three continue talking, Seaver reminds Maki that it is time for him to leave, since he needs to take over the shift that is currently being covered for him. As soon as he leaves, he finds his mother waiting for him. She asks whether he is really sure he can leave like that, considering that the party has only just begun. Mir confirms that he can. He explains that he received permission from the president to leave, although he still feels bad about making his mother travel all the way there. She quickly tells him not to worry about it. After all, she is not working at the moment and has plenty of free time. Without dragging out the subject, she asks what was so important that he wanted to discuss. Maki replies that he needs to wait a little longer because he is expecting a phone call soon. A few minutes later, exactly as predicted, the phone rings. The conversation is brief and ends quickly. Meanwhile, after finishing all the preparations, Masaki is completely shocked when she sees two people approaching. The surprise is even greater when she realizes that one of them is her former partner, and it is easy to guess who the person beside him is. Maki thanks both of them for coming. However, Itsuki is just as surprised to see that Masaki is there as well. Noticing the tense atmosphere that immediately forms, Maki apologizes for lying to both of them. As if understanding the situation, Itsuki remarks to Masaki that it has been a long time since they last saw each other. She agrees, but the two soon look away, unable to maintain a normal conversation. Watching the scene, Maki decides to step in. He asks whether there is really nothing they want to say to each other, considering that the three of them have not met in so long. Seeing the pain on his face, Masaki decides to speak first. Turning her attention to the other woman present, she asks if she is Minato. Without hesitation, Minato politely introduces herself. Masaki does the same, although she quickly comments that since she and Itsuki are no longer together, they are both free to do whatever they want. Minato replies that she does not believe she is in a position to decide something like that. Hearing that, Masaki tells Itsuki that she will never stop making her suffer. Itsuki simply replies that it is something she will never understand. The response is enough to irritate Masaki. She accuses her of repeating the same mistakes as always and asks why she keeps running away from her problems instead of facing them. As she slowly approaches, she demands that Itsuki say directly everything that is bothering her. In response, Itsuki says that she can vent all the anger she wants. Right afterward, she turns to Maki and states that if that was the only reason he called her there, she still has other matters to take care of. Just as she tries to leave, Minato grabs her to stop her. She asks her to wait a little longer. Itsuki replies that she would prefer to be released immediately. She also makes it clear that she does not want to be addressed so casually there, since she is still Minato's superior at work. Even so, Minato declares that she has no intention of letting her leave and no intention of calling her only boss. Changing the subject, she asks whether Itsuki really plans to turn her back on Maki once again, especially knowing how much he misses her. Despite the pressure, Itsuki manages to remain calm. She simply reminds Minato that she lied to get out of work and will certainly face consequences because of it. Even so, she decides to stay and listen until the end. Without wasting any more time, Maki takes both of their hands. In a firm voice filled with sadness, he begs them to stop arguing, talk honestly, and try to rebuild the relationship they once had. The emotions he had been holding back finally overflow. Unable to hold back his tears, he admits that he does not want to choose between either of them. In that moment, countless happy memories run through his mind. He remembers the times when they were together and still a family. Before he can even finish everything he wants to say, he promises that he will work harder. He will study diligently, play sports, and improve in every way he can. He also admits that he still does not have many friends and would like to become more sociable. But above all, his greatest wish is to remain by their side, because without both of them, the pain is simply too much. At that moment, Yumi comes running over and apologizes for being late. As soon as she arrives, Maki wipes away his tears and tells his parents that everything he wanted to say has now been said. He then apologizes for everything. Shortly afterward, he reminds his father about the phone conversation they had and explains that he does not intend to move in with him. Then, gently taking Yumi's hand, he introduces her to his father. He reveals that her name is Asanagi. He also explains that she was his first friend and the person who taught him the meaning of love. Before bringing the family discussion to a close, Maki makes one final request to his parents: to take a picture of the three of them together in front of a tree. With the help of his friends, who had been secretly watching the situation unfold, the moment is captured and becomes a treasured memory. During the party, Maki spends part of his time with Yumi. At one point, she runs into former classmates from her previous school, including two friends with whom she had cut ties. After reflecting on her mistakes and realizing that she had allowed her anger to control her actions, Yumi decides to talk to them. The three openly acknowledge their regrets, reconcile, and finally put an end to a conflict they had carried for a long time. When the party ends, Maki walks Yumi home. As they stroll together and look through the photos from the event, he realizes how much she has changed and overcome her old insecurities. Gathering his courage, Maki confesses his love and reveals that he wants them to stop being just friends and become a couple instead. Deeply moved, Yumi returns his feelings. After sharing tears, laughter, and heartfelt confessions about how much they care for each other, the two draw closer and share their first kiss. With that, Maki and Yumi officially begin their relationship, bringing this chapter of the story to a happy and romantic conclusion. After returning home, Maki and Yumi spend some time together on the couch. During their conversation, Yumi comments on his stomach, which leads to a sensitive discussion about weight and appearance. Maki tries to defend himself by saying he still exercises, but admits that he has gained a few pounds. The conversation causes a small disagreement when he makes some comments without realizing how sensitive the topic is. Later, it is time to say goodbye. Even though both of them want to extend their time together, they remember the promise they made to their mothers and decide to call it a day. Yumi asks to be carried to the apartment building's entrance, and before leaving, the two jokingly comment that they have already been dating for 2 days. The next day, Maki wakes up feeling extremely sick. with a fever close to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. After realizing that the stress he had accumulated over the past month had finally caught up with him, he informs Yumi about his condition. Not long afterward, she arrives with her mother to help him. The two insist that he go to the doctor immediately. During the conversation, Maki discovers that his mother gave a copy of his house key to Yumi's mother, and to Yumi herself now that the two of them are dating. At the hospital, Yumi remains worried while waiting for the examination results. Fortunately, the diagnosis reveals that Maki only has the flu, and that his fever should go down within a few days since he is not showing any more serious symptoms. The confirmation that Maki only has the flu makes Yumi and Sora feel much more relieved. Sora reveals that she has already informed his mother about the situation and explains that Maki will spend a few days resting at their house. On the way home, Yumi admits that she was extremely worried because he seemed perfectly healthy the day before, yet suddenly developed such a high fever since they had only just started dating. The possibility of something happening to him frightened her even more. As they talk, she holds his hand, and Maki apologizes for making her worry so much. In a playful tone, Yumi replies that he is not allowed to get sick again without warning her first. Once they arrive home, Yumi prepares a futon so he can rest. When Maki asks whether she plans to stay nearby until he recovers, she confirms that she does. However, he notices that Yumi is worried about being a burden. Because of that, he explains that he completely understands her concern precisely because she is his girlfriend. His words prompt Yumi to open her arms and invite him into a hug. During that moment, Maki is overwhelmed by insecurities and thinks that he may not deserve someone as kind as her. At the same time, he realizes that he can no longer imagine his life without Yumi. As if she knows exactly what he is thinking, Yumi reassures him by saying that she loves him exactly as he is. Her words help Maki feel better, and he decides to set aside his negative thoughts and focus on recovering. Later, while trying to fall asleep, Maki notices Yumi quietly watching him through the crack in the door. When she is caught, she admits that she only wanted to make sure he had managed to fall asleep, even after he asks her not to worry so much. Yumi confesses that she simply cannot help it, showing just how much she cares about him. Even though she risks catching the flu herself, Yumi refuses to leave Maki alone. She says she would be far more worried if she stayed away from him, and after some persuasion, Maki accepts her care. Happy with his decision, Yumi starts holding his hand and promises to take care of him as much as possible while he recovered. Throughout the day, she treats him with great affection, even feeding him herself. Maki ends up accepting the pampering and admits that he enjoys receiving that kind of attention when he is with her. Meanwhile, Daichai becomes concerned about the two spending the night in the same room. Sora tries to reassure him by reminding him that each of them will sleep on their own futon, and that Maki is so weakened by the flu that he can barely stand. However, that explanation only makes the father even more worried. Later, the lights are turned off and both of them try to get some rest. During the night, Maki wakes up and watches Yumi sleeping on the futon beside him. As he looks at her, he thinks about how important she is to him and how she continues to stay by his side despite all of his flaws. In a moment of honesty, he quietly murmurs that he loves her. Overcome with emotion, he tries to caress her face but stops before touching her so he will not wake her up. At that moment, Yumi reveals that she has been awake the entire time and asks him to repeat what he said. After some teasing and insistence from her, Maki finally gives in. He touches her cheek, and Yumi notices that his fever has not completely disappeared yet. Maki comments that this means she will have to keep taking care of him for a little while longer. To his delight, Yumi does not mind that idea at all. Finally, Maki tells her once again that he loves her. Yumi becomes even happier after hearing those words and replies that she feels exactly the same way about him, bringing the moment to a sweet and romantic conclusion. The following morning, Maki notices that his fever has gone down considerably. Yumi contacts him to check on how he is doing and explains that she had to leave early because of plans with Nina, though not before warning him not to spend the entire day playing video games while recovering. Later, Sora enters the room to do some cleaning and ends up having a conversation with him. During their talk, she comments on how quickly time seems to pass and takes the opportunity to thank him for everything he means to Yumi. According to Sora, it has been a very long time since she last saw her daughter smile so much. She then shares a few stories from Yumi's childhood, revealing that she was quite mischievous as a child and explaining the origin of the scar on her forehead, which was caused by a fall when she was little. She also mentions that whenever someone brings up Maki's name, her daughter's face immediately lights up, leaving Yumi extremely embarrassed. In a more serious moment, Sora asks Maki to stay by Yumi's side in the future. She explains that, although her daughter is very talented, that sometimes puts her in difficult situations. Without hesitation, Maki replies that he wants to stay by her side more than anyone else. He then realizes the weight of his own statement and becomes embarrassed. But Sora simply laughs and comments that he takes everything very seriously, which is one of the reasons everyone likes him. Later, Nina and a friend stop by the house. Before going inside, Nina teases Yumi for already having her boyfriend staying over so soon after they started dating. Yumi quickly tries to explain that Maki is only recovering from the flu in the guest room. Unfortunately for her, Maki hears the entire conversation through the thin walls of the house and becomes quite embarrassed. When they enter the room, Nina and her friend explain that they came to visit after hearing that he was sick. Nina takes the opportunity to tease him in a playful way, while Maki thanks them for their concern and says he is feeling much better than he did the day before. Finally, Yumi apologizes for her friend's teasing and reveals that it all started because they noticed she could not stop looking at her phone, worrying about him the entire time. Yumi's friends quickly realize just how concerned she is about Maki. They joke that she spent the entire day distracted, thinking only about her sick boyfriend. Maki remains at Yumi's house for nearly a full week while recovering from the flu. When his temperature finally returns to normal, he comments that he will probably be able to go back home before New Year's. The news visibly saddens Yumi, since she does not like the idea of being separated from him. Shortly afterward, she asks him for a favor and slowly moves closer. Maki immediately understands her intentions, and the two share a gentle, lingering kiss filled with affection. When they pull apart, both of them smile, especially Yumi, happy that she can finally kiss the person she loves. As New Year's arrives, the group begins preparing for the traditional shrine visit. Nina mentions that she will be wearing a kimono and teases Yumi, claiming that she will definitely do the same to impress her boyfriend. Embarrassed, Yumi reminds her that Maki can read all those messages in the group chat. When they finally meet up, one of the girls asks Maki what he thinks of her kimono. He replies that it looks very nice, but Nina criticizes the simplicity of the compliment and says he needs to learn how to compliment girls better. A short while later, Yumi appears, dressed in an elegant kimono. She immediately draws everyone's attention as she approaches. When Maki turns to look at her, his smile instantly grows wider. Without hesitation, he repeats the compliment he had given earlier and adds that she looks even more beautiful than before. Yumi becomes slightly embarrassed after hearing that. She reminds him that he had already said exactly the same thing before they left the house. As the two continue talking, Yu takes a curious look at the fortune results. A moment later, she complains that she is jealous, since her fortune only predicted moderate luck. Nina, on the other hand, does not seem very concerned. According to her, those results are not all that important. She then reminds the group that the fortune slips are supposed to be tied in the appropriate area of the shrine. She also mentions that sweet sake is being served to visitors. The moment Yu hears that, she immediately becomes excited. In her opinion, starting the year that way sounds like a great idea. While Nina and Yu head off to tie their fortune slips, Maki and Yumi end up with a few moments alone. During their conversation, Yumi mentions that she kept her eyes closed for quite a long time while making her prayer. Because of that, she became curious about what he wished for. Maki thinks about it for a few seconds before answering. He then reveals that he wished for all the important people in his life to stay healthy. His answer makes Yumi smile. She says that she wished for exactly the same thing. Because of that, they both agree that good health is probably the most valuable thing a person can have. Yumi adds that she realized this even more after having to take care of a certain person for several days. The hint is so obvious that there is no room for doubt. Maki sincerely thanks her for everything she did for him. In return, Yumi asks for only one thing, that he never scare her like that again. Maki immediately agrees. However, he does so with that goofy smile she knows all too well. The result is predictable. Yumi ends up blushing once again. As soon as their conversation ends, she takes his hand and pulls him toward the other girls so they can tie their fortune slips as well.